What's up out there? Stalker 2 has been a little bit of a bust for me. My computer's had a lot of issues running it. There's a lot of compiling shaders when I start. It's really very bad frame rate when I play. I think I've got it ironed out, but out of the 3 hours that I've played, about 2 of that, or at least 2 of that, has been troubleshooting it, trying to get it to play well. So it's been kind of a big turnoff, and I've basically came back to Path of Exile and decided that I am going to try to get the Maven taken down. I don't know that I'm going to do it. If you see a video up where I kill the Maven, then you'll know I succeeded. I do have one Maven invitation ready to go, and I'm just about at the other one. I think I need to finish 1 or 2 more of these maps, and we'll be there. So I was sitting here trying to figure out what I needed to do to my build to elevate it and make it better. I ended up reading somebody on Reddit was talking about learning the fight and all the things that they learned on it and everything. And one of the things they mentioned, somebody mentioned somewhere along the way that you need like 3 million DPS. I don't have that. I'm ways off of that. So that would be a luxury at this point, but I've done fairly well on the 3 or 4 times that I've fought her so far this league. I've never beaten the Maven at all in any of these leagues, not with any of my Bone Shatter, Righteous Fire, nothing. I've never been able to beat that fight. So this is going to be an actual attempt at it. Normally I'll try it 1 to 3 times per league. I at least try it every league, but I usually do so poorly I don't ever go back. I didn't do bad this league on some of the other attempts that I've had, but I definitely did not have enough life regen or something. There was something missing, not enough damage, not enough survivability, the usual story. So I've got an invitation ready to go. I've got another one queued up. I sat down, read somebody's post on Reddit on all the things that they learned. One of the things they recommended was that the Maven fight itself is a lot of cold and lightning, so they recommended having flasks. So I basically have all the elemental flasks on here. This is a chieftain build, and one of the nodes on my ascendancy is this one here, where modifiers to fire res apply to cold and lightning at 50% of their value, and then modifiers to max fire res also apply to maximum cold and lightning res. So as it stands, I have 85% in both cold and lightning and only 84 in fire. I would need to adjust, I think it's on my armor. I think that's where the other +1 to max fire res is. I've got one on my boots. I think the other one's on my armor. I'm not ready to take that out. I like the melee hits with chance to fortify, and I like the global fizz damage because it just boosts my damage up a little bit further. I don't think I'm suffering with that 1%. It would be great to take, but I think I would rather have the increased damage. Or, yeah, the increased damage and the chance to fortify rather than the other. So, I have, when I kick all my flasks off, I have 89 and 90% in all of my resistances. So 89 fire, 90 cold, and lightning. And that means I am running all of these different flasks. I've also put a Jade flask in here. I could do the plus 1500 armor one. It does pretty much the same thing, although I might get a little different scaling. We'll go over the passive tree here in a second, but I wanted to point out, I ended up taking out my Quicksilver flask and swapping into this Jade flask, and then I just made these all elementals, so pretty much almost all 90% Ellie res all the time. And we have 73% Chaos res, so that's almost capped out too. So, that is one thing that I did with this build, is to get more armor in evasion, get more evasion through this, and then cap my resistances out, fully capped out as much as possible. The other thing I did is worked on my gear. I was using this mace. I was using this mace here, this Tuo's Felling Pile Driver. Now, this thing, the mace that I'm using now, I ended up crafting up a mace. This has got 101,000 DPS on the tooltip. This thing here's only got 99,000. So my DPS actually went up a little bit. Actually, it went up quite a bit compared to this mace. So I upgraded my mace, and because I've been working on some other builds in the background, I've been grabbing gear for those builds. I've also been grabbing things like axes and other maces and stuff for this build. I think I could swap out an axe into this fairly easily. There's only like the Spine Cruncher and Rib Cage Crusher that are mace specific, so I could probably swap that out if I wanted. However, I'm going to stick with maces for now. I'm not sure what an axe would do with all the stun damage and everything, and increased stun and stun duration and everything. I don't know what an axe will do to that. I've got my build kind of centered around maces right now, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And I have some other maces and a bunch more harvest juice that I'm going to try to work up. Another mace for this that's better than the one that I have. This is incrementally better than the unique one that I was using, but I probably could get something better than this. I just need to work it up. This one's got tier 2 increased damage, and lightning damage doesn't matter. I got increased fizz damage on here. The accuracy doesn't matter because I've got whatever that is, the resolute technique. So I've got resolute technique on here, so accuracy doesn't matter. And then I crafted on the fizz. We got some increased stun duration, increased attack speed. This thing is actually fairly fast. So if it'll go without that weird thing on there, my attack speed this has got 1.65 attacks per second, and the attack speed on this is pretty crazy. 1.87. I guess it's not too bad. I guess some of the ones I've had are over 2, but this thing, it's not bad. It is not bad at all. And let's see, we've got a bunch of other changes we need to talk about too, but one of the big changes, aside from the flasks, I changed out my mace completely. Got a whole new mace, 6-linked it and everything, got it all set up. I reworked this implicit for 8% of lightning damage taken recouped his life. I might change that to cold. I figured one or the other would be good for the Maven fight. We've got damage penetrates 4% fire res. Let's see, I don't think I changed that. We've got increased attack speed, exerted attacks, that kind of thing on this one. Of course, the melee hits, chance to fortify, and global fizz. This one I don't think I changed either. I think I might have changed this to attacks exerted by seismic cry, deal 22% increased damage. I think I tried that on here. So I also went through, I didn't have all of my affix spots taken. So some of these had maybe 1 or 2 prefixes and 1 or 2 suffixes. I ended up going out and buying a stack of exalted orbs, and I got like 6 or 7 of them from a divine. So I swapped that out and then went ahead and applied all of those to these. I don't think I think the accuracy came on here, or the lightning damage. They're kind of useless, but the lightning damage will help. The accuracy is completely worthless. That won't matter to me. I think I got like this item rarity of items found. I think I got that on here. That might be helpful for finding gear or something like that. But pretty much what I did is went over all of my rings, amulets, everything, and I filled in something for all of it. So we get some added lightning damage and some whatever. Nothing massive came out of it, but I wanted to at least fill everything in so that it all had something on there and was complete. You know, I don't know if I went through this. I guess I did. No, I'm still missing a suffix on here. So I could probably use a couple more. But at any rate, I wanted to fill in as much of this as possible and get as many of those, hoping that something better would come along that would help out. So I plugged all that in. And then on the passive tree side of things, I went through here. I don't remember exactly what I had configured. I think I had these chances to ignite, and I think I had this stun threshold and concussive force. I backed out of all 4 points of that, and I went into +1 max cold, fire, or cold and lightning here, and cold and lightning here. Then when I was looking at this, I realized that I already had 86 when I had these 2 points. I had 86% here, which I don't need. That's wasted. I just need to get to 85 so that when I kick these off, I get the extra 5%. So I backed these 2 points out and moved them over to here to cloth and chain. And then at some point I picked up iron reflexes to convert all evasion to armor. So we've got that. And that's why I went with cloth and chain. That's why I went with the jade flask, thinking that eventually whatever combination of stuff that I get, the evasion would feed back into the armor and then get fed back into the evasion multiplier somehow. I think I've heard that happens in the calculation somewhere, that it's probably better to have a little bit more evasion. But when I first tried this, I didn't have cloth and chain, and I tested the 1500 armor one, whatever that flask is, versus this one, the stibonite or whatever it is. I don't remember exactly which one, but the armor-based version of this, I tested it out, and they were both identical. So maybe cloth and chain will put that over. And that was after I had iron reflexes. So at any rate, I moved some points over here to the various resistances to cap those out. I also took these 2 points out and just moved it over to this one. And I don't remember. Oh, I ended up putting a point up here into fizz and elemental damage to increase those. After that, I don't think there was too many other changes. I did pick up this stamina over here. For some reason, I didn't have that, so I've got 6 endurance charges. And then on the socket side of things, I ended up taking this endurance charge on melee stun out of the main build and putting out of this main 6-link and putting in Awakened Fire Pen. Now, if I want to go clear and do mapping and stuff like that, I would put this endurance charge back over here. But I ended up swapping these, so Leap Slam is going to have endurance charge on melee stun. And if we go in here and run a map real quick, you'll see when we leap into something, I'm going to get a lot of stuns, or I'll get a bunch of stuns off of it and then get my endurance charges that way. So there's a couple endurance charges there, a little bit more there. As long as I'm leap slamming in, we're good. I don't get them when I slam down the main skill anymore, which is unfortunate. And on clears, you definitely notice that you're not dropping those down, because if I just sit here and slam the ground, I don't get any of these. So my endurance charges don't work. You don't stun enemies. You know, I meant to look. This thing does not. This has reduced enemy stun threshold, increased stun duration, and you get more damage per endurance charge out of it. But I was thinking that I noticed whenever I stun with, maybe it's because I'm hitting so often with my main skill, with this Tech Slam skill. I don't know. It feels like things are stunned a lot more. Obviously, I'm not leap slamming multiple times in a row, so yeah, it's probably what it is. It's just the fact that I'm hitting the ground so often with it. But it is very noticeable when I don't have this. However, when I'm fighting bosses, it is very handy to have that, because then I can just wail on the bosses. But like, I'm running around with pretty much no endurance charges unless I hit something. You know what? My survivability has gone up quite a bit. Let's see if we can get out of this for a minute here. Go back over here, swap this stuff out. And then we'll take this thing on. So everything basically just gets stunned. I have max endurance charges, and it's all magical, and I'm happy. Oh, this has tormented spirits. All right, this is going to take a minute then. Did we kill them all off? No. Or there's just more that popped out. So the difficult thing is I have to remember to go swap that out after a boss fight. And my memory's terrible. Well, that really wasn't worth it. So my memory is absolutely horrendous, and I have to remember to go swap things around. However, that's one of the changes that I'm able to make and get more DPS on the boss fights, is by making that swap. So as long as I swap that out and remember to swap it out if I die or something, all is well. So, where do we need to go now? I need to do a boss fight here. So my goal is to try to take the Maven down. I honestly have no idea if I'm going to be able to do that fight. I'm going to have to learn the fight for one. And the memory game, I can get to the memory game at least once or twice. My survivability's gone up a little bit. Like, I just took a bunch of damage there, but I just managed to survive it. I haven't changed the amount of life that I have, and I haven't changed my regen or anything. The only thing I've changed is the amount of resistances that I have and how they're applied. So I'm hoping that's going to help out quite a bit. It's just a dead end. Yeah, pretty much. Where the boss is, there we go. I don't have any other awakened gems, and that's going to be a problem. I would love to have the Awakened Fire Pen is the only one I've gotten. It's like the worst one for my build. It would be great. It would be fantastic to have Awakened Fizz, or if there's an Awakened version of Pulverize or Overexertion or something like that, it would be fantastic to have Awakened version of those. But that's not what I've got. Did she give me 2 on that one? Nah, I still got 1 more to do. So I've made a ton of changes to this build. I'm going to try to stack up some Maven fights. I want to do at least 1 or 2, and then I'll start grinding some more out. I've got a whole bunch of these. I'm not going to try these right now. I want to actually try them out when I'm ready for it. I've got a whole bunch of like the Hydra, Chimera. Well, I only have 1 of the Phoenix, but I've got a bunch of these fights built up. I've got a few of these. Actually, I've got some of these too. So I'll be able to start doing some of these. Let's see, the Formed, the Twisted. I think I can make an attempt on the Hidden. I think the Formed and the Twisted were the easier ones to do. I think the Elder Slayer's Baron just tears me apart. Although I'd be kind of curious to see how well this build does against him now. I think I can attempt the Hidden, so I may try that. I need to get some Ul Natal stuff built up. But I'm definitely going to do the Maven fight. I'm going to try to work towards that and get that done. And I'm going to I've been doing more of the formed and twisted fights because they build up your crescents, the splinters faster. But I have been doing the 10 ways a lot more too, just because I've been trying to grind out gear and harvest juice and stuff like that. So yeah, it takes 10 of these maps to go do it, but as I run those maps, I'm collecting gear and all this stuff. It just feels like a benefit to me. So I'll slip in some of the formed and twisted, and then when those get frustrating, I'll come back to this stuff and go back and forth. But at any rate, that's my goal, is to try to get the Maven fight done here before we get PoE 2. Don't know that it's going to happen. If you see a video with me smiling with a big grin on my face, you'll know that it happened. But I just wanted to talk about all the changes that I've made to this, because overall, this is actually a lot better build now. It's a lot tankier and doing more damage. I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, but with the Tuo's Felling Pile Driver, that unique mace that I had, I was getting like 860,000 DPS on POB. I estimated that it was might have been a million at some point. Like, I don't have my calculations quite correct or anything, but using the exact same calculations that I had with that compared to this mace and all of this setup, I'm getting a million DPS. I'm getting right at a million DPS. Just a shade over, but it is a million DPS on POB, so I'm very pleased with that. The other thing I was considering is this ring that I've got has curse enemies with flammability on hit. I need to compare vulnerability and flammability. That's why I've got these sitting here. I need to figure out where to socket these in and try them out. I want to see which one gives me more damage, because this one, they get minus 17% fire resistance, which kind of goes in with everything else I have, and a chance to ignite. But this one, they take 15% increased fizz damage and then a chance to bleed. I don't know if bleed fits into this build at all. I guess if I switched over to an axe, it would make more sense. But I think it makes more sense to leave this ring on here. I know somebody mentioned I could swap this out and use these at a higher level, but I think I want to leave them the way they are for now. I don't want to cast it. I like the ability to just, you slam down and put flammability on hit out. I do think I want to go through Delve and see if I can find a vulnerability ring. I don't have one. I think I have one on some other build somewhere, but I don't have one just sitting in my stash. I've got all kinds of conductivity, flammability, the cold one. I've got frostbite or whatever it is. I've got all those, but I don't have a vulnerability one. So I presume if I had one, it's on some other skills or some other build. But at any rate, I just wanted to put a little update for this build out here, since the fire lit underneath me to try to take this Maven fight on. If nothing else, I think this build is a lot stronger than it was and a lot more sturdy. It's still not great, like you're still not going to be taking on Ubers or anything with it, but it's a lot better than it was. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.